In this video, we're going to work on a little bit of highlighting. Seeing as this is a Space Marine, we're going to do a lot of edge highlighting, but before that, I want to try out some feathering, and we're going to start here on these knee pads. Feathering is a layering technique where I put on some paint and then clean my brush off, and while it is damp, kind of pull the paint backwards away from the space that I want to have the highlight and smooth out the transition. Damp is not a precise term, and I never really know exactly what it is that people refer to when they do that. So what I'm doing is I'm cleaning my brush and I'm kind of flicking the water off and then pulling back the paint a little bit. And I'm just going to keep doing this to bring up the intensity of the Evil Sunz Scarlet here on these knee pads, which are in the heavily shaded area of the miniature from the Zenithal Prime. Just because, I want to bring it out a little bit, and the rounded surface, the edge highlighting doesn't work out as well. So I'm just going to do this until I am happy with the result. I'm just going to keep repeating the process. And yeah, we're going to keep working on it until it looks the way I want it to look. And I like how that's coming out right there. While the Evil Sunz Scarlet's still on my wet palette, I'm going to drop some glaze medium in that, and I'm going to do some glazing here to kind of smooth out the transition here on the shoulder pads. So I'm starting in the shadowed area, and I am dragging the flat of my brush all the way up across the top here. This is going to even out the transition between the highlight and the shadow, and it's also going to bring up the intensity of the Evil Sunz Scarlet on the top of the shoulder pads. As future me is here watching past me do this, I realize that I'm wasting my time on one of these shoulder pads because I'm going to turn into a Grayshield. But hey, it's good to get the practice in. Alright, we're going to do a little bit of dry brushing with some Dawnstone in these kind of soft armor bits, I think is what they call these in-between armor bits. And I'm doing this now because if I get a little gray on the edges of the red armor, I will be able to clean that up when I'm edge highlighting the red armor. And pretty much all of these soft armor bits are in the shaded area, so I'm not going to do a big time highlight. I just want to do a little Dawnstone to bring it out. And we're going to do the same thing on the soft joints here on the arms, and I'm also going to hit the heavy bolt pistol, and I'll do this now, and if it gets on the metallics when I wash and highlight the metallics, I can clean it up then. So I'm going to take this Wild Rider Red, and we're going to feather here on the boots, because this is the one portion of the main body that's out in the highlighted area. So I want to bring out this rounded portion here and get a little bit of a highlight. And so we're going to go back and do the feathering here with Wild Rider Red. So I'm just going to get the paint on, clean my brush out, flick out the water so it's a little damp, and I'm going to pull back the paint to smooth out the transition. I'm going to do the same thing here on these rounded portions of the backpack. So the two domey parts at the end and the arch in between them and this metallic bit. So I got some Wild Rider Red. I am going to put the paint in the area that I want the brightest portion of the highlight. Then I'm going to quickly clean off my brush, flick it so that it is still damp, and then pull the paint back. In like manner to the other rounded parts that we have done, I'm going to continue that until I'm happy. Alright, so this is all the Wild Rider Red. I don't know if you can see that there on the camera, but I got a little bit of a highlight on the round portion of the boot and on these rounded curvy portions of the backpack. The backpack is one of the higher points on this miniature, so I want to push the height a little more. I'm going to do this with Fire Dragon Bright, and we're going to attempt the same feathering technique. So it didn't work out for me with the Firebrand Bright. I don't know if it's because the paint was either too thin or maybe my brush had too much water on it, but it kind of just sucked the paint off, tore it a little bit. I got this weird coffee stain pattern. I didn't like it. So I went back and I feathered back on the Wild Rider Red so that that bit was covered up, and we're going to try a different technique to highlight up to the orange. Given that the Fire Dragon Bright was so thin anyway, I decided to grab my glaze medium, put a couple drops in, make a glaze, and I'm going to glaze on the highlight. So I'm going to start away from where I want the brightest highlight and pull my brush towards the highlight, because when I lift my brush off, it's going to leave the most paint, and I want that in the point of greatest highlight. So I'm just going to go back and forth and do this a bunch of times, and I'm going to vary which part I start at, and if I'm starting on the left side of the backpack or the right side of the backpack, and I'm just going to keep building that up, pushing the glaze towards the point of the greatest highlight, letting it dry until I get an effect that I enjoy. Alright, I am pretty happy with how that came out. So there, I've tried some feathering, some dry brushing, some glazing. I think in the end, I like glazing a little bit better, but for some applications, the feathering just goes a lot quicker. I think it just depends on the look you're going for and the amount of time you want to invest in it. But there's some subtle highlights to bring out some of these curved areas in a way that I can't do with an edge highlight because they don't have edges. And so we're gonna, next time, do the edge highlighting. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give it a thumbs down. Tell me why down in the comments below. If you are interested in getting daily hobby videos, consider subscribing. If you're looking for other ways of supporting the channel, try following my social media links down below. And as always, please leave a comment telling me how you have been hobbying lately.